In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the Dynamize Photoshop action to create an intense effect of light, smoke and darkness around the subject of an image. Dynamize Photoshop action works on an original image which contains a subject, and this image will be transformed based on an area we mark on the photo. This is the area represented by our subject, and based on this area of the original image, the action produces results. There are multiple lines of color, multiple layers of smoke, sparks. There are lots of color options that the action provides. 12 actually. And almost all the layers have color control possibilities and diverse adjustment opportunities. So, in order to use the action on an image, we of course will have to load the action into Photoshop, and from the actions panel, if you don't see the actions panel, make sure that window actions panel is set on, and you will see the actions panel somewhere. We will have to load the action in this action panel. So we will click here on this little icon, go to load actions and select the Dynamize Photoshop action. It is an ATN file, action file. Click load, and now we have the action available in Photoshop. It is an action folder containing a single action. This is the action. Now we will now have to load the special brushes that the action uses in order to generate the clouds, the light effects and some other effects. So we will go to the brush tool. Near the selected brush there is this small icon. And we will go to load brushes and select the Dynamize brushes. Okay. Also make sure that the brush opacity it is set on 100% and the flow to 100%. Unfortunately I cannot record this setting in the action, so you will have to make sure it is set to 100%. Okay. Now, suppose you open a JPG file, JPEG file in Photoshop. The image which you open will have a locked background layer. Make sure that your image comes with the layer named background. If your image is opened in Photoshop and it has a different name other than background, you will have to rename the layer on which the image is placed. Now, because it is a locked background, in order to rename the image, you will have to click on layer from background and put the name background. So this step is relevant only if the image doesn't come with the layer named background. If it does, there is no problem. So if it is like this, it's perfectly okay. Now, the next step is the brush layer. As you see in this result, which contains the effect the action produces organized into the Dynamize group, there is a layer called brush with capital B. It is a layer containing a marked area of the subject. So let's delete this one, this example, and you will have to create a layer, call it brush with capital B, and on this layer you will have to mark the subject of the image. There are multiple ways of doing this. You can either use the Photoshop round brush with hardness 100% and use any color you would like to mark the image entirely, which could be a bit of tedious work, especially if your image has lots of minor details such as the fingers in this image. So this is one possibility, and we brush in the brush layer. Make sure you don't brush over the background layer because it replaces your subject with this red color. So you can do this. Here I accidentally brushed too much. You can do this step, or you can do something different. I'll select all and delete what I did. In this case, the image has a gray background, a uniform gray background, so we can isolate our subject based on the background color. So I will go to the background layer to select it, go on the magic wand tool with a tolerance of, let's say, 5, contiguous selection, and I will select the background. It has selected all the background color except the subject. I will also select using Shift the space between the legs And now we have everything selected except our subject. In order to select our subject and not the background, I'll go to select inverse, and now we have the subject selected. I will then select the brush layer, and on this brush layer I will use the paint bucket tool, and with a simple click I will have the marked area of the subject. I will deselect the selection. Okay, and we have this. Okay. Good. Before you run the action, you should make sure the image mode is set to RGB color on 8 bits per channel. Ooh, strange message, never mind. Okay, and the image should be of an appropriate size. This image is 3500 pixels in width and 2000 in height. You should make sure the image is of a similar dimension. Okay, and now from the actions panel we can run the action. So with the Dynamize selected, I will click on the play button, and the action is working. It is producing all the layers. Okay, and now we have a result. I will close the color options group because there are too many and they are bothering to the view. The first thing you may notice is that the head of the subject is also covered by the effects of the rest of the body. So in order to change this, the action has a special folder with a layer mask. It is this one, brush to reveal subject. It has a black mask. We will use a brush. It comes with the action. It is a round brush of 400 pixels in size, and we using this brush and a white color, which is the opposite of the black mask, we will brush on this mask selected. We will brush the head in order to reveal a part of the original image, because we don't want the effects to distort the face of the subject. Okay, and you see here the little white area which we brushed. Okay, there are multiple things you can do here. You can, for example, leave it like this, or brush a bit more on the subject reveal mask using a smaller size. You can brush somewhere here. Okay, so we revealed a part of the subject in its original state, the head. Okay, there are some other effects here. I will go from let's organize them a bit. Okay, I closed some groups of layers. Okay, the action created at the bottom of the layer stack, a show more of background, change opacity. You can also change the color besides the opacity. So what it does, it allows you to specify a custom color for the background. And by changing the opacity of this layer, you can make it more intense. Or you can hide it. There is a background color layer which surrounds the subject with color, with a background color, in this case black. It is a diffuse area around the subject. It is good if the background is of a different color, or if it's lighter, because the background of this image is dark gray. Okay, there is a background clouds layer with a color control for this layer. You can specify a different color. And you can also change the opacity of the background clouds layer. Set on 30%. You can increase that. There is the clouds layer, which have gradient color control. The default gradient is red to blue, but you can specify anything you like, and also change the direction of the gradient. I will click on cancel to show the original state. There is a sparks layer containing all the sparks around the subject, and the sparks color which you can specify a color for the sparks. There is this white mask and the group called brush mask to hide contour lines. This is a group containing all the lines you see around the subject. Line 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All these lines have a hue and saturation control. So you can specify a color for that line. Let's say, okay, this line, hue saturation, and it's with a different color now, red or yellow, or without any color. These are controls for all the lines. And the group containing all these lines, which is this one, has, as I said, this white mask on which you can brush with the same brush. Let's make it a bit bigger, but on the opposite color of the mask, which is black. So we will brush using black as the foreground color. We can hide the lines on some areas, such as this, or maybe around the head or the face, or somewhere else. I will return the image to the original state. So you can brush on this to hide some of the lines, all the lines. You can also further customize your result by brushing with the same black color on this group brush mask to hide subject, and by doing so you can hide part of the subject and show only the effects around it. So you can leave it like this. There is the subject chrome effect. You can hide or show. So because we brushed on the brush mask to hide subject group, there is no image behind the subject chrome effect, and only this effect is visible. It also has a brightness controller, which is not visible right now. We can toggle it on and adjust the brightness of the chrome effect. There are highlights which are not very visible in this case. The highlights, these are areas of brighter pixels in the subject, and they obviously depend on the image which you provide. You can change the color of them. This is something almost not visible in this case, but they can have a bigger impact in different images. There are lights with color control for them. You see here a different color. You can put any gradient you like. It's a gradient because there are lights in the bottom of the subject area and very high on top. So like this. And now there are the color options. There are some general controls such as the brightness, the color tint, the general saturation, which adjust the entire image. The color tint allows to set a color look on the image. The general saturation is something I recommend you do. So by double clicking, and we will enhance the saturation, let's say by 20 units. The effect will have more impact. And there are the color options. There are 12 color options, each containing some filters, a curve filter and a selective color adjustment. So all these color options, as you see, are hidden. You can enable or disable the one you want. What the color options show also depend on your image, the colors of your image. So basically this is it. You will have to play with the results and use these customization possibilities to change your image produced by the action in multiple ways. Thank you very much for watching my tutorial.